があるとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。
To my motherfucking man, 50 grand, the alcoholic man, inject a tall can in his bloodstream if he can. Biggie Smalls, the 50 stroker, MC provoker, chocolate tie smoker, huh? I like to max and Maximas and Acuras. Your girl butt cheeks, I'm smacking, huh? The raw rapper, spine snapper with the little, cause on my lap, a shot, the ball, I ain't your fucking comforter. And if I ever fall in love, I bet I'm fucking her. Ask the if I didn't choke her. If she try to front, then I
Episode 90 of That World Champion Sound Virtual Pros Podcast. My name is Al, aka Henny Omega, aka the Bandman, aka Buja Nagata, aka Dr. Keith Drapinski, aka Two Phone Scorpio, aka Super Brazy, aka Pete Gas Break Dip Dip, aka No Speak Broke Boy, Kami Shinsuke Stack a Mill Up. And with me, one half of the Holy Scheming Army, one half of Blemolition, one half of the Heavenly Thotties, one half of the Bread Hunters, my main oos, Mike.
Hey, what's up, motherfuckers? It's Mike, a.k.a. Sticky Fuji, a.k.a. Crack Saber Jr., a.k.a. Tim Tam Bigelow, a.k.a. Wavy Boy Smith.
Today's topic, virtual approved wrestling venues. Looking to make a trip? Let Al and Mike be your travel guide to making towns worldwide. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at VRTL Pros. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. You know I like it. Hit us on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review and subscribe if you haven't already. Peep us on Spotify. And if you want to participate, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Cheap Pop is going to be happy about this because we don't have a group of emails. But Mike, do you mind starting off with that first one?
Yeah, sure. The order got
Corey.
changed, so I'm trying. Yeah. So Corey's the first one. Also, Jacob wrote in with he wrote in a request that we're doing on the mixtape this episode, and he said he didn't know if that was okay, and it definitely is. If you have some kind of video, some wrestling shit that you would like to see on the mixtape, just email us and send it over. We might not get to it immediately, but I put anything that interests me into like a big playlist that I save forever. So chances are, if you recommend something, it'll end up on the mixtape. But anyways, yeah, the first actual email is from Corey. Death to American New Japan fans. Have y'all heard about this guy Todd Martin complaining about the not getting the Wrestle Kingdom tickets he wanted? He wrote an exhausting blog post about it on PW Torch called New Japan to Non-Japanese Fans. Drop dead. As an aside, Todd Martin used to be on the Figure 4 Weekly and like the Wrestling Observer and all that shit, but I think he had like a falling out with Brian Alvarez or something. I don't know what happened there, but I remember him from that. Anyways, the basic gist from what I gather is that this guy, like many others, used a third-party service to get a fan club membership, then got sad when New Japan sniffed them out during the lottery process. How can you get so mad about a company finding out that you scammed them and claim that the company, in fact, are the true scammers? Is this all insane, or am I just an asshole? Also, you don't need to reveal your sources, but I'm curious about how other American fans get their tickets without issue on a regular basis. If you have a cool uncle in Japan whose address you use for New Japan tickets, can I get his contact info? Corey at gansobomb.com, aka Yoshi Hashpipe, aka Bad Luck Wale, aka Whoa, hold up, I was just looking at the New Japan roster page to come up with more sick puns, and who the fuck is Jack Bonza? Another thing covered in the mixtape this week. Yeah, I didn't read the whole article, I just read like the highlights, and yeah, it kind of just seems like a sour grapes thing where you probably shouldn't write a whole article about it. Maybe just make a tweet about it, but technically WWE does the same thing for WrestleMania. Like, I don't think they say like no foreigners or anything like that, but you definitely, if you are like a WWE ticket buyer, you definitely get like an email like way before everybody else that's like use this code or whatever to get tickets. And, technically other people aren't supposed to use that. They do, like, I don't think obviously WWE enforces it like New Japan does, but I think these rules are in place in a lot of different kinds of things, even with pre-ordering tickets. MasterCard always has that deal, or maybe it's an Amex. One of those credit cards always have a deal where they always have a pre-order before everybody else. So, and I'm pissed off when that happens, and because no one on earth has a fucking American Express card, so it's unfair that if you have one, you get like pre-order shit before other people. I'm not gonna write an article about it called "Drop Dead American Express," but I don't know. I do think it's kind of weird, but at the same time, I wouldn't huff and puff about it. But Al, as a person who does seem to buck the system, what do you think?
First off, how dare you? I use the system fairly. I signed up for the New Japan fan club, directly. And I got tickets. With that said, the third party, I mean, they're charging a premium to sign these people up. And I mean, if I'm New Japan and I look at this, I mean, I would just think, there seems to be a market for people that are willing to pay premium prices. How about I just cut you guys out and then take the lion's share of what you guys are making? That's my thought. In terms of how I get tickets, don't worry about that, Corey. I got them. What else did he ask? I don't think it's a scam, though. I mean, it's obviously a company that was trying to bank off of New Japan's event, and New Japan found a way to just take their money. I mean, it's their event, so what can you really do? Next up is an email from CJ titled Twitter Beef. Hey, Vrt'S. Is this Seth Rollins Will Ospreay feud the corniest on the long list of corny wrestling Twitter beefs? I need some actual fisticuffs if I'm going to give a shit. Otherwise, it's just two rich dorks engaged in a pissing contest. By the way, I just started listening to Border Boss a couple months ago, and besides wrestling content, it's the perfect combination of interest for me. Keep them coming. I'll hang up and listen. CJ, a.k.a. Steely Dan Severn, a.k.a. Thick Dick Togo. It's okay, I guess. If anything, it made me want to watch Raw on Monday, even though I only watched maybe 10 minutes of it. It's a little entertaining. Do you think it's that corny, Mike?
Oh, I think this is super corny. This was one of my two-man scramble topics. I'll just get into it now. Seth Rollins came off like a real cop doing this and making I don't care what anybody says. We have the best professional wrestling right now. Knowingly that this is a tweet aimed towards the hardcore wrestling fan that absolutely hate WWE right now. So first off, you sound like a cop. No one's just going to be like, oh, okay, except for the mouth breathers that are loyal to WWE and just take everything they say as word. And I think a great example is that this is kind of like McDonald's tweeting, I don't care what anybody says. We have the burgers. And obviously anybody with a fucking minute ounce of common sense knows that McDonald's does not have the greatest burgers, but they do sell the most. So, I think the lowest common denominator, McDonald's can probably trick into thinking they do have the best burgers. And I imagine a lot of those people are also wrestling fans. So it kind of makes sense that Seth Rollins would kind of tweet this out as some kind of crowd control. But it's obviously, I don't think hardcore wrestling fans are going to fall for it. So then when Will Ospreay stepped in, the first reply, it was fair. And then, when they got into it, he just came off like a junior cop, basically. Not as bad as Seth Rollins, the main cop, but, I'm sure it's for Will Ospreay, it's good for him because it increases his invisibility, increases his visibility, a little more because, he's not a household name in America, and this probably bumps up his visibility a little, and that's pretty good for him, but it was corny. I don't know why. First off, you are siding with Seth Rollins in this. I don't know. Like I said, it's just it's like siding with a cop, basically. It's like siding with Walmart or McDonald's or something like that. It's cool that Seth Rollins is trying to do this and, trick people into thinking that, WWE is cool and underground, but it's not. I don't know anybody who watches WWE and expects good wrestling, but maybe there are people that expect that. That is not why I watch WWE. I watch it for shit like Bray Wyatt being spooky and dumb shit like that. I don't really care about the wrestling because it's never that great. But yeah, it was just super corny.
I mean, counterpoint, sort of. I mean, it's social media, and if anything, it got the engagement that I'm guessing Seth Rollins wanted, so don't you think he was a little bit successful?
I don't know. I looked at that tweet and like all the replies were just making fun of him. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's successful in a way, but I don't think it makes him more likable. And another good example is that I think his tweet backfired. And today I saw on like one of those news sites that Kevin Owens, who is, I believe, a bad guy in WWE right now, he gave free tickets or invited the guy who got bullied by Bully Ray at the ROH show. He like gave him tickets to an event, and that comes off as like a way bigger deal and a way bigger fuck you to a different wrestling promotion at the same time than Seth Rollins just tweeting like, I don't care what anybody says. So if like Seth Rollins did that, I would have been like, that's a cool move. But now he's been beaten to it. So
if anything, this kind of started another discussion with people I talk to. Does Seth Rollins suck as a wrestler? Like, it's always been in my mind that, like, he's always been good, but if anything, like, the last good match he's had was, like, maybe a couple of years ago at the Rumble with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Am I imagining this or what?
I don't think Seth Rollins sucks. I remember I started going to ROH shows, like, right when he was on his way off to WWE, and I remember thinking back then, and that was, like, when I first kind of started paying attention to ROH, and I remember thinking, oh, he'll be like a really good wrestler someday. And I think he is a good wrestler, but it's just like any wrestler in the main roster of WWE. You kind of become like a video game wrestler where you do your X amount of moves and you kind of just stay in that pattern. And it's not really that exciting after you see it like 10 or 20 times. And so I think he's probably a good wrestler. I just don't think he's allowed to show it that much.
You got next.
Oh, also thank you for listening to Border Boss. If you guys don't know, I do another podcast called Border Boss where I talk about Taco Bell, and with the second half is called All Holes Filled, where we talk about records that we should have listened to way back then and we just never did. It's on iTunes, all that stuff. Also, the newest episode coming out in a couple weeks is not even about Taco Bell. It's about an old Japanese reality show called Nasubi. So if you have any interest in that, check out the episode in a couple weeks. Anyways, next email is from Maddie. It's Wrestler Encounters. What up, Al and Mike? Firstly, Al, are you pissed that Harold is cutting off the New Japan fan club for Americans? Okay, for my actual question, have you guys ever had any weird encounters with wrestlers at or outside of shows? Here are a couple examples that stick out to me, or for me. Trying to piss in a urinal 2 feet away from Matt Cross while he took a whore's bath in the sink, and we made awkward conversation. Phil Baroni verbally abusing a woman while I stood between them. Smoking weed and talking about wrestling on a street corner in Worcester with Chris Dickinson. As always, thanks for being the best wrestling podcast, and take care. Maddie, a.k.a. George the Animal Steel Reserve, a.k.a. Big Daddy Ahegao, a.k.a. call me Katsuyori Chibata because I'm stacking that bread up. I usually just kind of skip this question because I don't want to incriminate myself or anything, but I thought of a good one. But you can probably just go back and listen to like past episodes because I've said some stories in the past, but I thought of one that I don't think I mentioned on the WrestleMania recap show, but I think like the statute of limitations is up now, and I don't feel as bad talking about it, or I don't feel like this makes me sound like too much of an idiot, basically is what I'm getting at. But at Joey Janela's spring break the first night, if you guys weren't there, and I'm sure, a lot of you weren't there because there's only X amount of people there, but the way the balcony was set up is like everybody's basically literally elbow to elbow, on like just leaning on this little bar area, basically like all around the top of the venue. There was technically seats there, but if you sat down, you couldn't even like see over the bar because they were just very badly planned, basically. So everybody's standing there like elbow to elbow. You have like no room to move because it's, oversold out basically. At one point I get up or I walk over to go get a beer at the actual bar, and I come back and the seat to the right of me is where Wolf was sitting or standing, and he was gone. And there was somebody else there, but I thought it was a woman that was standing there. I was like, oh, Wolf must have went somewhere, because like all I saw was like a shorter person with like long hair. And so I just didn't see. It's dark. I'm not like looking. So I just put my beer on the little bar and I start drinking, and I'm like, man, this girl stinks. Like, she smells like not good. And like, I'm not used to, girls stinking. So I'm just like, ugh.
I'm rubbing my hands like fucking Birdman right now, trying to get to this punchline, but go on, please.
I mean, it's probably going to be let down, but, yeah, so after like 5 or 10 minutes, what I presume is a girl turns around, because Welf is basically like hovering over her or him, we'll get to that, the whole time, because he's like, I'm not going to move this person out of my way because I'm way taller, so I can just look over them. So this person turns around, and it ends up being Marco Stunt, who just wrestled. And I was just like, oh my god. And it just, like, so I don't think he stinks in real life, but he just wrestled, so obviously he's not going to smell very good. So I was relieved to find out it was an actual wrestler who smelled like that, who just like exerted themselves, and it wasn't a woman who was just really stinky at Joey Janela's spring break.
That's pretty good. Yeah, we get this question like every 5 episodes, and I never have a good one. I think maybe I told the story about how NXT was in Sacramento, and after the show, I had talked to Cassius Ohno in the DMs, and I was like, hey, let's link up. And he waited for me behind the building, and we took photos, and then like a crowd of people just bum rushed him, and I think he was pretty bummed about that. I just think he wanted to go home. But other than that, I respect my side of the guardrail, so no real good stories here. That was it. If you want to email us.
There's one email from Devin.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad. Titled Big Mike. What up, Vrtl'S? After recently seeing something you shared on Instagram of Big Mike Elgin showing off his Jordan 8s, I'm wondering, who do you think turned him into a hype beast? Do you think he's running up in some Royal Ones on his off days? Does he have a bunch of box logos in his closet? Was he up early Thursday trying to get those fucking awful Supreme Jordan 14s? Does he have a Foot Locker loyalty card? Yeah, thanks, Devin, a.k.a. Air Mike Elgin, a.k.a. Hentai Kobashi, a.k.a. Guapo Man, Zandy Savage, a.k.a. my grandma's favorite grandson. I don't think Michael Elgin's a hypebeast at all. I just think, like, everyone has Instagram, and they just kind of see Jordans on their timeline, and then they just get sucked into buying whatever Jordans come out that Saturday. So I think that's what happened with Michael Elgin here. I don't think he's out here just buying like any Japan collabos or anything. So he might have like 1 or 2 pairs.
Yeah, I felt the same way because I don't know this guy's history. I know he was around in ROH and stuff. Like, I know there was like a whole history of Michael Elgin when he had hair, and I don't really know that history. I just know he always kind of looked like a redneck type of dude, and he chews tobacco, so I don't think you can be a hype beast and chew tobacco. I don't think those two things go together. So yeah, I have Al's theory. Plus, I think he hung around with Tanahashi when he was in New Japan, so he's probably like, maybe I should do this. Maybe this is what will clean up my image, is if I do an outfit of the day like Tanahashi. But I don't know.
If anything, the comments or what did he put? He was like, outfit of the day, or like, what do you think of this fit? And that was a lot more cringy than him just buying Jordans. I thought that was way more embarrassing. I was very shocked at the engagement that we got when I just took a screenshot of him just like peeping his outfit. It was something to see. Anyway, if you want to email us, please do so at virtualpros64@gmail.com. The very famous 2-man scramble time. I got some topics. I'm going to start off with Henny Recommends. I saw this main event from the recent DDT and Sendai Girls show. It was a 6-person tag between Konosuke Takashita, Shunma Katsumata, and Yuki Ino versus Meiko Satomura, Chihiro Hashimoto, and Dash Chisako. Man, I've kind of made a big 180 on intergender wrestling. I think if you listen to previous episodes, I'm kind of against it. This one, though, this was some shit. It seemed pretty real. There are some really, really gross head drops in this, especially Dash Chisako. She takes this insane back bump. I think it's about 20 minutes. It's worth your time. I recommend it. Have you seen this, Mike? I'm guessing that.
No, I gotta get, I'm assuming the illegal link to watch this because, I haven't seen it and I haven't seen GIFs, so I do want to see it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Secondly, go ahead.
Okay. No, I don't have anything else to add. I don't know why I started.
Secondly, for the Shin Nihon diehards, I will be at G1 Dallas next Friday, so if you see me, please say what's up. I also scored some ringside tickets to surprisingly one of the hottest events of the summer, the Super J Cup at SF State. Pretty excited about that, so if you see me there, please say what's up. Do you have any wrestling events coming up, Mike, that you're traveling to, or what?
I'm going to Rise Wrestling on Sunday. That is like it's after the Pride Parade here, so it's it's kind of like that deal, like they're doing like a big Pride wrestling event. So it's like Sonny Kiss will be there, who I'm a big fan of. Cassandro, the Exotico Cassandro, I think it's their. I don't know if it's like the first time they're in Mexico, they're in America, but it's either that or like very rarely. So that's like a thing. Joey Ryan is there, which is oddly enough, the first time I managed to avoid seeing Joey Ryan for a really long time. The first time I saw him was at the Joey Janelle spring break, where he was just in the clusterfuck. So this is actually be my first time seeing an actual Joey Ryan match, I think.
If he comes around with that lollipop, what are you gonna do?
I'm not down with that shit. I don't hate Joey Ryan like I know a lot of people on the internet do. I think what he does has a place in wrestling because, for one, I don't think my girlfriend's ever seen him wrestle. And I just told her what he does, and she's like all about it. So I think anything that has that kind of effect on people that don't watch wrestling is fine. But that doesn't mean I like his shtick, though. I mean, I just don't hate it as much as other people. I'm still not really a big fan of the shtick.
If that lollipop is like within 10 feet of me, I'm fucking running, dude. I'm not gonna shy away from that shit. Oh my god, how unsanitary is that? I never got your take on this, Mike. I'm kind of late on it, but what are your thoughts on this new internet sensation known as Superhuman?
I'm fine with him. I think it's done very well. This dude has been around for like a few years, so it's kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess he was on, I just watched it today. He was on Tosh.0 like a few years ago. But I don't think anybody watches Tosh.0 anymore, so it's not a thing that he's been missed. But back then it seemed he did more just, kind of like generic stunts. Like he did stunts, but he didn't name them after wrestlers or do them like wrestling style. So I think that's what made it catch on this time. And I think it's pretty cool. I guess, Brett from GCW tweeted out that he has no interest in being booked on shows or anything like that. And, so that's kind of cool too, that he'll just stay like this internet enigma until like his flame burns out. But it's like a cool 15-second thing. It's pretty funny. And, and he's a juggalo, so you can't beat that.
Huh. I just thought this guy was new, so it's interesting to hear that he's been around for a couple years. I was gonna say, if I was this guy's social media manager, I'd be like, dude, you gotta slow down. Like, I kind of like scroll through his timeline, and he's doing like 7 or 8 stunts a day. Like there was one where he's just dropping like watermelons on his nuts. There was another one where he was drinking hot sauce and then running into like a brick wall over and over again. I was like, man, just drop one a day, maybe one a week, and you can kind of, pace yourself to where you can stretch this out to like, I don't know, the end of the year. But if he's been doing this for a couple of years, I mean, who am I to tell him what to do?
Yeah, I don't watch closely enough, so I just always thought he kind of recycled them, and he just has like a bank of stunts, and maybe he adds like a new one to the rotation once a week, but I don't really know, honestly.
The one where he jumps in a barbed wire that's inside of like a wheelbarrow, I was like, dude, that guy's gonna get tetanus, man. You gotta, I don't know.
I don't know what his mom thinks about this, or his guardians, because I mean, he's 20, so I guess he can be living on his own, but I just assumed he lived with his parents by the backdrop of the house and everything, but I don't fucking know. I'm not from Florida. I don't know how those people live, so maybe you can be 20 and have like, that type of weird swamp house or whatever the fuck those things are, like those weird like 1-floor houses. I don't know.
All right, so Mike, we're both pretty disenchanted with the New York office right now. With that said, are there any matchups that the WWE could produce that could get you to tune in for a little bit?
I mean, the only reason I even tune in now is to see the re-debut of Bray Wyatt. And I'm getting fed up. But again, they got me back. So 2 weeks ago, they they started to do the thing that WWE does that I really hate, and that is kind of, it stops being subtle, and they kind of like hammer you over the head. Famously done when that Fandango dance like caught on in England and it got on like the Billboard charts or something. And then like the next episode of Raw, like Jerry Lawler's out there like, do the Fandango dance. And it's just like, you can't do that. You gotta let it just be an organic thing. And, so a couple weeks ago, before they showed the Firefly Funhouse vignette, like Michael Cole's like, it's been sweeping the internet. It's going viral. And I'm just like, this is the end. They already blew it. But they brought me back this week because I just assumed he was going to debut this week, but he didn't. They didn't even show a vignette. But what they did was they just had the creepy puppets chill in the background of like other people walking around backstage and like didn't mention it on commentary or anything. And that is like the most subtle thing WWE could ever do because they're totally never subtle. So now I'm hooked again. I know it's going to be over once like the first wrestling match he has, the magic is going to be gone and he's just going to be a guy again. But I'm hooked on that. As far as actual wrestling matches, no, I don't think there's if they finally like pulled the trigger on like Cesaro and he had like a championship run or something like that, I could probably be interested again, but I just don't think that's ever going to happen.
That was my thing. I was like, if they just give like a weird title run to like Nakamura, for example, I might tune in. In terms of like dream matches, they kind of exhausted mine with all the Brock Lesnar versus fill in the blank already. Like, and they all were fucking bangers. Like him versus Bryan was really good. Also him versus AJ Styles. But in terms of like dream matches, yeah, I don't know. This Io Shirai love letter to ECW and FMW like really has my attention right now, but I don't think that's going to carry over on Mondays and Tuesdays. No. So I can't think of anything right now, sadly. Yeah. My last topic. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, they just really need to change something. Like they really need to change what they do because it's just, even if you love somebody, as soon as they're on Raw for a month, they just get so boring.
My last topic of the night, and I forgot to bring this up last episode. It had been a lot more topical, but still, I'm still so shocked by this. Holy shit, Mike, we got fucking bootlegged, man. How do you feel about this?
I kind of lost steam with me because I was actually really upset about this.
No shit.
At first. I was not really upset at the bootlegger because I'm kind of interested in how it's done because it's not like some kid was like, oh, I'm going to steal their shit. It's just some like dude, probably, sorry to stereotype, but probably in China that somehow has some kind of like algorithm that just bootleg shirts off the internet. And, cause the rest of the shirts this person is selling or this company is selling or, is just like Sons of Anarchy, saying you would see on Facebook. Like, the Joker. Like, it's just like random shit. So I know there's like some kind of algorithm that just pulls these things, but I just really don't know where they got that graphic. Cause it's a Bull Nakano shirt if you haven't seen it. And it's like, I don't think it's cleanly on the internet anywhere. So I don't even know where they got it. I don't think that's the graphic from our website. I don't know. It's just so they pulled it from somewhere. It's on there. What I was really upset about was that I immediately complained to eBay. Said, this is a bootleg. I hit the whatever you complained, the cop button. And I was like, yo, this is our shirt, blah, blah, blah. And I filled it out. And I'm pretty sure it's still there. It's like been a month now because I forgot about it. Cause I was just going to call eBay and be like, what the fuck? Because fuck that, man. Like I sell shit on Etsy and my shit gets pulled from Etsy for ridiculous shit. And it's the same thing with eBay. So I was like, I really want to hammer it to somebody else. And I just fucking dropped the ball. So I'm less, pissed off at the actual bootlegging robot that does that stuff. I'm more pissed off at eBay though.
Yeah. That was my thing. I'm not even sure if it's a robot because I don't think we ever dropped a high-res image of the Nakano graphic and then like our logo. And so like I kind of feel like someone put this together. So I'm a little iffy on like this entire thing as to
the only thing
got bootleg, so who knows?
The only thing I was thinking of, and this sounds far-fetched, but it's honestly the only thing I could think of is the only way I think they can get like a clean version of that graphic like that is if they took it from the Fire Pro uploads. Cause, like it's in the Fire Pro game because you could make it like the ring canvas and stuff. And, so I think it's like somebody clipping things from like Fire Pro and making t-shirts out of them. Cause that's the only way I could think of like getting that clean version of that graphic. So I don't know.
Mike was a little mad about it. I'm ecstatic, man. I figure that if you get bootlegged, you're popping out here. I always knew that we were, but the fact that someone actually made a bootlegged item of our shit, it solidifies this idea that we're the best. That was my last topic.
Okay. We went over the Seth Rollins stuff. Recently, Al got suspended from Instagram. Would you like to talk about that, Al? Because that was a weird thing to wake up to and see emails about getting suspended from Instagram. What did you even do?
We got emails about that?
Yeah, on the Vrtl'S account.
I just posted a video that the UFC posted on their Twitter about my man, the Korean Zombie, rebounding after one of the most heartbreaking losses in MMA history. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but he got back elbowed, like a no-look back elbow, like a Jason Williams all-star fucking pass to Rafe LaFrance. Jesus Christ. Like, he threw this right hand. It was really nice looking, so I just posted it. And sure enough, like 3 hours later, I was at the casino and I got a notification that we were suspended for 3 days. It actually was 4 because I didn't get to log into Vrtl'S until, I believe, yesterday night.
Huh.
So, yeah, that was a bummer, man. No more videos, I suppose.
Wow.
Even though I see so many fucking bootleg videos of everything on Instagram, I think someone's snitching, man. That's my theory.
That's crazy that it would be UFC. I could see that UFC doing that because I think most people watch UFC through bootlegged means. I don't think anybody pays for the pay-per-views anymore. Actually, they have that weird ESPN deal now, so who knows?
Yeah, that was someone's theory, but the first warning that we got was me uploading a video of Io Shirai doing the chair salt, and that got taken down ASAP, so I think we're on strike 2, Mike. It's just gonna have to be shirt fucking photos from now on, and to me taking photos of my sneakers and you at wrestling events.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I saw recently that DDT ran an event called DDT BOYZ with a Z, and this was I saw people vaguely posting about it on Twitter, and I did not feel like looking into it because I figured I would just be disappointed because I'm disappointed by most things people post on Twitter. But I saw our friend Emily Pratt wrote about it, and that's how I found out about it. And it was this DDT event that was aimed towards women, basically, where I think only women could buy tickets, and they did stuff that they thought women would like. And I don't know about this. If New Japan doesn't have women wrestlers, I don't think DDT could run a woman-only event. I think that's kind of sexist, and they shouldn't do it. I'm very against this. Until New Japan gets women wrestlers, DDT can't do their boys thing. No, seriously, I thought it's a hilarious idea. I wish we lived in a world where this could be done in America so bad, but I think even if AEW did it, it would still be like 27 people in the crowd if it was only women allowed to buy tickets. But I mean, if you're an adventurous independent wrestling promotion and you're listening to this podcast, and you're in America, I'd really like to see you try this shit because I think it's a very novel idea. I just think you would lose your shirt on, actually trying to make money off of it. Although, this Rise Pride event, I imagine that's going to be a lot of people that wouldn't normally go to wrestling. So I don't know, maybe, AIW boys or AEW boys or I don't even know, GCW boys. maybe it would work in America, and I'd like to see it.
That's what I was going to say, man. If GCW BOYZ was a thing and like Jimmy Lloyd was bringing his dog to the event, his doggo, excuse me. And Jimmy Lloyd and fucking Nick Gage are doing like some pop songs together dressed up and I don't know, some Pokemon gear or whatever. I think it could be like a real viral hit. So look into it.
Dude, I know you've been to Japan, so this stuff's old hat to you, but like, yeah. I get these YouTube recommends for videos all the time because I watch Mike Chen and he always goes to Japan, and I watch this other guy named Only in Japan he's kind of a tad creepy, honestly. If anybody knows this guy, he talks kind of like in a creepy tone. He's American originally, but he's been in Japan for 20 years. So I think maybe he sounds creepy because he probably doesn't speak English a lot outside of his videos, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting way off track. Anyway, so I get these videos always recommended to me on YouTube about like, odder Japanese things. And I saw, I don't even know what channel it was on, but it was like these people and they went to this bar in Japan that was like a snack bar where it was very tiny. And for like $5 or $10, you would walk in and you could have all the snacks you wanted. And all the snacks were free, and all you had to pay for was the beer. And I was like, man, I want to open this bar tomorrow, but you can't fucking do that in America. Like, it just wouldn't work. So it just sucks that Japan has these things that wouldn't work, like DDT BOYZ in a bar that just has all you can eat snacks. So I don't know. So two things this week just really depressed me about the things you can do in Japan that you can't do in America.
You know what's crazy is I've been to that bar, and it's pretty cool, man. You just take snacks off the wall. They have a lot of these like weird like Cheetos snacks, like curry Cheetos snacks that I was just like going to town on while drinking highballs. And you're right, dude. This would never work in America. Those snacks would be gone like in 2 hours.
Yeah, and like I saw that a lot of those bars, like the Tokyo Salaryman bars, are like basically all you could drink for a couple hours for like, $20 or whatever it is. Again, you can never do that in America. People be vomiting all over the place all the time. And it just sucks. Like, I really want to, if I'm ever hit the lotto and I have like money to burn, I'm definitely going to try it just to see how bad it goes. But, that's a long shot. Anyways, moving on.
Well, just to give you a heads up, a lot of people are throwing up in Japan too, man. Trust me.
My last thing, recently, like a couple weeks ago, WWE unveiled and put on sale an HBK signature championship belt. And, as far as I know, this is not a belt that HBK ever wore. This is just kind of like, how Jordan kept making sneakers after he retired and never wore. It's kind of like that. Yeah. And B, I don't think they ever did this for any other wrestlers outside of Stone Cold and The Rock. And that was like that was during when they were wrestling. So it was okay for them to have a signature belt. So this is just like an old man that retired whenever. And, he has an imaginary signature belt. I know this is because there's people that buy every single one of these new belts that come out. And they're just like thinking of new belts they could invent now to just get other people's money. So, and I know the type of people who buy belts and don't think it's stupid are probably really pumped about this ugly belt. And, that really bums me out. But the people, if you are a belt collector out there, you should really fucking wake up, because if you buy this belt, you're opening a Pandora's box of just, I don't know, like that's what I want to talk about with Al. Like, so if, say this HBK belt sells well, do you think they'll do like Jordans and they'll do like the HBK 2 belt? Or do you think they'll move on to like the Undertaker belt? And then like, it'll be so popular and go on for so long that they're doing like, I don't know, who's an obscure champion that's not like Ahmed Johnson, or, not fucking, when I say Ahmed
just like
Johnson.
Great Khali, like release of that belt or whatever. Yeah,
like the Great Khali belt or something like that. Like, do you think it's going to get to that, or do you think this is a one and done? What do you think their intentions are with this shitty HBK belt?
This is absolutely like a teaser, dude. And I think it's going to do pretty well, because I think we had talked about this like in a previous episode where you can only go so far in releasing like belts that have already been like created. Yeah. Let's just make some new ones. Like that Daniel Bryan belt, absolutely a money grab for sure, right? And now they're just testing that hot hand. So I feel like you're going to get like a lavender Undertaker belt. You're going to get a fucking rest in peace, whatever that looks like, American Badass, WWF belt. It's going to get pretty wild, dude. And then it's just going to go into numerals like Jordan's. I think you're onto something.
That's fucking terrible. So belt collectors out there, you got to put your foot down right now and be like, I'm not into this shit at all. Cause this is bad news, man. It was bad when they started selling the changeable nameplates. And they were like, how can we make this even more money? And now they're just making whole belts. So yeah, you can't buy these guys.
I don't think anyone's putting their foot down, dude. I think people are going to be pumped about this, man. No doubt about it.
If I see anybody in public at a wrestling event with this HBK belt, I'm just going to be like, shame on you. I'm just going to go up to them and say, shame on you, and just walk away. And they'll know. They'll know what they did.
You got to check their stripes, man. You got to be like, when did HBK win that belt? Etc., etc. How many times did he win this, huh? Put that fucking finger on their shoulder. Maybe challenge him for it. I don't know. That's what people do with Jordans, man. Like, were you alive when he got those 6 rings, bro? You got to do that shit.
Yeah. Well, that's it for me.
Holy shit. Next up, our main topic, virtual approved wrestling venues. Looking to make a trip? Let Al and Mike be your travel guide to making towns worldwide. Please stay tuned.
when I showed up, pimping and cold up. I head straight to the bar just to post up. I roll a dro up, my cup mold up. Bitch, don't just stand there with your nose up. Come on, wamp, wamp, what it do?
What it do?
Wamp, wamp, what it do?
What it do?
Wamp, wamp, what it do?
What it do?
Wamp, wamp, what it do?
No hotter, flow dropper, since popper. You penny any nigga, see I know copper. Left the game on a high note, flow opera. Pusher still got them keys, I can unlock ya. See that watch on the sleeve, call it showstopper. Nigga ball around the world, call me globetrotter. Trick dollar, ask what I feel, nada. Give a bitch yellow fever, all these gold bottles. And late models, I lean throttles. Roof back with the coupe, black player think he need goggles. Look mama, me fly papa. Strictly bathing ape, ice cream and BBC rocker. So proper, hammer time, gun cocker. Top shot.
Okay, and welcome back to Virtual Pros episode 90. Our main topic for tonight, we're going to be talking about wrestling venues. Our favorite wrestling venues, our favorite live wrestling venues. Al approached me with this topic a few episodes ago, and honestly, I thought it was kind of a thin thing that we probably couldn't talk too much about. But then I remembered that I did an episode of Kissing Contest several years ago where we named our favorite fictitious, our dream homes from movies and television, basically. And, my picks were apparently so weird compared to everybody else's that I don't know. Like, I just realized that because all my picks were like just shitty apartments and everybody else is picking like actual crazy houses and stuff like that. And I don't know, my brain just doesn't work like that. So I was like, maybe this would be an interesting thing to come up with my favorite venues that I've been to live. But I don't know. I feel like Al's are going to be a little more adventurous than mine, but I don't give a shit. My first one is unfortunately a place that currently right now you can't actually go to. So this is a shitty one, but I do have faith that maybe one day they'll allow wrestling there again. But it is the Mount Carmel venue for AIW that they used to run out of for several years, but lately they can't. The church, because it's a school, it's like a religious school. I don't know if it's Catholic, it's some kind of religious school, and whoever the head religious man there now is like, no more wrestling, so they stopped it. I hope somehow they get back there, but I just like this venue. I don't know. I have some criteria. One is like you have to be kind of comfortable there. Two, I don't want to say the color palette, but it has to have like a good feng shui for me. Like it doesn't have to be like an ornate place, but if it's just like ugly and not like good color scheme and stuff like that, I'm probably not going to be into it. Lastly, and most importantly, it has to probably serve alcohol and it has to be affordable. I don't think, unless you are in a big ass fucking arena or something like that and you just know you're going to get reamed for alcohol prices, if you are running out of some kind of high school or a venue that is not a fancy club or an arena and you're trying to charge me $7 for beer, you could fuck right off, because that is some bullshit. You just bought that stuff from the grocery store. Don't be a dickhead about it. So the AIW Mount Carmel, it's basically like a high school gym, but I don't know, just like the color scheme of it, like the religious stuff hanging up, and there's like a big like cartoon tiger because their mascot is the tiger right on the wall. It's like a good space. It's open. One side is all seats, the other side is all bleachers. I don't know, it's very symmetric, I guess you would say. It's a nice open area. I think they charge like $3 for beer. The bad thing is they had tickets. It was like a ticket setup because that's how they got around selling beer in a Catholic school or Christian school, is that weird old school ticket policy thing, which is dumb, but I don't know. So that was the only kind of difficult thing, but outside of that, that's nothing. So yeah, Mount Carmel is just one of my favorite venues I've ever been to. I don't think I mentioned it's in Cleveland, Ohio, just in case, because I know there's a lot of Mount Carmels out there, but AIW's Mount Carmel. If you go and watch any of their events from, I don't know, 2018, 2017, 2016 on the independent wrestling television streaming service, you'll see the venue. It's a great venue that I'm sure people will see on television and just be like, that just looks like a shitty high school gym. Mike is dumb, but hey, sue me. That's what I'm into.
A lot of history at this Mount Carmel, right, Mike? Ronda Rousey was there. On top of that, I feel like this is where you first discovered your bloodlust with the Headhunters.
I wouldn't say I discovered it there, but no, yeah, I did get to see the Headhunters there. It was a cool venue.
All right, my first one. I would just be blatantly disrespectful if I didn't mention my childhood wrestling arena. I saw Hulk Hogan take on Randy Savage to a count out there. Bret Hart take on Mr. Perfect to a draw. Fucking GSP beat Matt Hughes' ass there. Michael Jordan and Mitch Richmond, they played there. LeBron's very first game was there, as a matter of fact. That's Arco Arena, Sacramento, California. Wrestling-wise, it's always been a pretty fun venue. I think the best match I've ever seen at Arco Arena was Rey Mysterio versus Chris Jericho. This was at the Bash. I think that was 2009. Like, Arco Arena in Sacramentans, it's just always a super good crowd with really good energy. Like, Arco Arena's, like, fairly small for an arena. And Sacramento residents really don't give a shit about anything but having a good time. Also, my little brother can attest that Arco Arena has by far the best chicken tenders in the game. So, they moved to Golden One Arena, which is like a gorgeous arena. But I do have very fond memories of Arco Arena for sure.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever been, so I have nothing to comment on that.
You've watched the Kings play back in the day? You've seen it?
Yeah. All that stuff kind of looks the same to me on television. That's the thing I didn't mention. All this, like, historical shit, I don't give a fuck. I've been to MSG enough. The only time I've seen wrestling was WrestleMania 10 there, I believe, but it's a cool building, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm gonna pay $14 for a beer. Like, it's not worth it. Like, it's cool when you look up in the rafters and you see, like, Billy Joel's jersey or something in the rafters. You're like, oh, cool, that's Billy Joel's jersey. But, there's some cool shit there, but it's just a fucking arena. If you're into, like, punk and shit, I've been to CBGB's. That place was a fucking dump. It sucked to see shows there. But it's like this big historical place that they made movies about. And, it doesn't mean it's great. So, that kind of
what a
shit.
wet blanket this guy Mike is, dude. I got to see the fucking Sacramento Monarchs jerseys hang up at Arco Arena, fucking 6-man jerseys and shit, nothing that really matters. And this guy's talking about how MSG is whatever.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, I really like the United Center. I think the United Center is like, I haven't been to that many arenas in my life. I've been to shitty ones in Albany. I've been to the Civic Center in Hartford, New Haven Coliseum, those places, but United Center is really nice. But anyway, so speaking of United Center, my next one is the Logan Square Auditorium right here, right down the street from my house in Chicago, Illinois. Mainly runs AAW, but they also run freelance, and they run a lot of other, like, traveling independent promotions that come in. This is where Rise is taking place this weekend. Chikara was just there. They did a few other things there. The one cool thing about Chicago, so I think, Kid Cash has wrote in and asked me, how do I feel being this horrible gentrifier? And, I don't really care, but I will say that gentrification is way more, people are, like, really amped up about it here, like, way more than they were in New York when, it was going on for years and years. But, here it is, like, it is a pretty hot topic, but, sorry, I just, like, lost my train of thought when I started talking about gentrification because it's such a serious subject. But no, so the one thing that is cool about Chicago, because they're doing all the shitty things that New York did for the past 10 years where they are gentrifying neighborhoods and they're trying to, like, force smaller businesses out and build, like, chain things everywhere. And it's just not, I don't think it's catching on like it did in New York, basically. It's kind of in this weird flux where they're trying to skip over, like, the cool hip part of New York and just go right to where everywhere's a Starbucks. And I don't think it's kind of working, but I digress. Anyways, the one cool thing that Chicago has over New York when it comes to that shit is that still when they're doing this shit, all of the buildings in Chicago are still, like, really old and, like, cool, and they're, like, cool architecture. Even if you see, like, Chinese restaurants, they've been there for, like, 80 years. And they're just, like, they still say chop suey on the signs and stuff like that. It's just, like, the weirdest things are just, like, old and antique-y looking and vintage here. And that's the same with the Logan Square Auditorium, because I think otherwise, if they didn't run wrestling there so much, I think you would go in there and have your wedding. And usually, like, wedding halls aren't really that great. they're whatever. I mean, modern ones are nice, but you know, the regular ones aren't really that great. Like, I wouldn't want to see a wrestling there, but the Logan Square Auditorium's like super ornate. They have like this crazy light set up on the ceiling. The natural light in there is amazing when it's still light out. It has like an amazing balcony. It just has like anything you would want, for not only like a wrestling event, but any kind of event where you were, facing something right front and center. It's, just like a really nice building. The one thing I would say is that when Freelance runs there, they use their own lights. I've mentioned this on the show before. They don't use the lights that are set up in the actual Logan Square Auditorium, and I think it cheapens everything and makes it look way shittier than it actually is. And I don't know why they do it. I don't think they care about like aesthetic stuff like that, but it looks way worse than the regular lights there. But, and they have moderately to decently priced alcohol. And so I don't think you could want anything more. I would recommend, if you are coming into Chicago to see wrestling, to see if it's at Logan Square Auditorium, because that is by far my favorite venue, that I've been to here. Not that I've been to a lot. The Bourbon Street venue that AAW, runs is cooler for another reason, because it's just like this wild place that's like a suburban playground for adults. But yeah, no, the Logan Square Auditorium, I know Al's been there too, but yeah, it's just a great building.
I was gonna say this might be the only venue that we talk about that lets people have in and out privileges, and I think that's fucking humongous. Everything else, you just have to stay there, whereas Logan Square, I feel like we just wandered in and out whenever we felt like it, which was fucking sweet. My next building, so I have to kind of preface this by saying that I think Korakuen Hall is actually like a perfect wrestling venue. They let you bring in food and water and beer, especially. It's pretty orderly. It's nicely lit. There's a ton of urinals, which I like, and it has that historic factor of hosting some of the most wild shit wrestling has ever seen. Like, with that said, though, like, I haven't seen a good wrestling show at Korakuen, so, like, I don't have any fond memories of Korakuen. I've only been at 2 shows there. I've been at Dragon Gate, where I famously slept live on TV. And I went to this year's New Year's Dash, where absolutely nothing fucking happened. So I can't say I've gotten the full Korakuen Hall experience. So I think overall, my favorite Japanese venue that I've been to so far is Shinjuku Face. I've only been there once, and that was to see Stardom. This is where Io Shirai turned heel. Interestingly enough, she turned heel today on NXT, so very topical, I suppose. This venue's super weird because, like, you have to take an elevator to get up to the 7th floor. I feel like it's in an office building almost. It's really intimate. It might seat maybe like 300 or 400 people tops. But like, it's really well air conditioned, and that's a weird compliment, but, wrestling does get kind of hot when it's like in a really closed off space. And so I appreciated that, on top of being like, really intimate. Like, I was maybe like 10 feet away from the ring, and like, I got like 3rd row seats. So anywhere like has a really good viewpoint. I don't know, maybe I was just enraptured by the athleticism that was in front of me that night, but, drinks were really cheap there too. I think highballs, which is a whiskey and soda, were a little under $4. So I didn't get ripped or anything. I was there alone, and that would have been a really weird move to get drunk and watch Joshi. But if you happen to get a chance to watch wrestling in Japan, you need to go to Shinjuku Face for sure.
Yeah, since I'm such a weirdo, if I did go to Japan and did go for wrestling, I'm more interested in venues like that than I am the bigger ones. I mean, I would want to go to Korakuen Hall still, but I'm definitely more into these weird seedier venues, just because that's kind of my style. But
yeah, you'd like be into what's it called, Shinkiba first, because that's just a fucking garage.
Yeah. So my last one is where Evolve runs, and it's what is going to be on the WWE network versus AEW soon. It is La Boom in Woodside, Queens. This is kind of Evolve's de facto headquarters at this point, even though I think Gabe lives in like Maryland or something, but their home is somehow Queens, New York. This venue is like, the one thing that sucks is the drink prices are ridiculous, and that's stupid. But it is a bar, it's a club. Outside of running wrestling there, they are mostly Mexican nightclub. They have like a lot of like Mexican music and Mexican dance nights and stuff like that. So Laboom Evolve at Laboom is kind of, their secondary business, but it's set up where the ring is kind of like in the middle of what would be the dance floor, but then like right after the dance floor is kind of like an elevated bar area that goes all the way around the bar. So if you have floor seats, it's pretty sweet because you're in like this kind of pit. But even if you have like general admission seats, you're kind of like elevated. So you're not like looking behind people. Even if they stand up like fucking dickheads, you could still see like right over them because you're like in this elevated thing. So it's kind of almost like a blood sport situation or, like Lionheart or one of those Van Damme movies where you're kind of like in this, you have people sitting in like nice seats and then people like standing all around those people. And, it has like a nightclub-y vibe that comes off pretty good on television where it doesn't look like you're a janky wrestling promotion running in like a shitty high school or something. It looks a little more pro. And, I think it might hold around 1,000 people, but I think that you would be counting people that would be in like the other room that can't see wrestling. So I'm going to say it's probably like 700 to 800 people. And you're like when it gets really packed, it's cool. It is, as far as seeing like independent wrestling in New York, it has to be like the best venue to see it outside of the drink prices, just like the way it's set up. So yeah, if you are ever in New York and there's a promotion running out of Laboom, definitely go see it. Lucha there is even better, but I don't even know if they book Lucha in that place anymore. But, yeah, Laboom is definitely the best venue for seeing live wrestling in New York, I think.
Laboom's also kind of close to Filipino Town in New York, right? Do I have that wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I would go there for sure. I think the only time I've seen Laboom was when Dick Togo wrestled Chris Hero.
Yeah.
And that venue definitely looked like a Streets of Rage 2 stage, so I thought it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
My last venue that I'll be talking about. So out of all the WrestleMania shows I've attended, I think this has to be my favorite football stadium. I went to whatever the Dolphin Stadium is to watch The Rock versus Cena, and that shit was super old.
Was it Joe Robbie Stadium?
It might have been.
Man, that is super old if it was Joe Robbie.
It's not Sun Life.
I mean, I don't think it's called Joe Robbie anymore. It's probably called something, a sponsor's name, but yeah, it used to be Joe Robbie.
Yeah, it's pretty broken down. Cowboy Stadium is a fucking sight, but it's just way too big. I think, like, we were sitting in the bleeders, but I think it took me like half an hour for me to walk to my seat. So, strike one against Cowboy Stadium. Where else have I been?
How is that venue, the NXT venue in Texas?
Oh shit. That venue is actually pretty cool. I feel like that venue was like a perfect circle. And so like all of like the view lines were really sweet. Plus I got to see the only good Shinsuke Nakamura, match in WWE. So that was cool. Cardinal Stadium was all right. That was my first Mania I've been to. Santa Clara, like, I like the idea of an outdoor stadium, but like for 3 hours, like my face was gonna melt off because like the sun was in my fucking eyes for like super long. So with that said, I think the best dome wrestling venue would have to be the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. I think it was recently renovated because of Katrina. So it does have like a lot of modern amenities. On top of that, their food there is super good. I think I ate like at least 2 po' boy sandwiches, which is kind of like weird to think about, when it comes to like eating like sports food. On top of that, I just think New Orleans is just such a perfect city to host wrestling. So, my fingers are crossed that they host WrestleMania at the Superdome like every other year because like it's a really cool venue.
Yeah, again, I've never been there. I don't like arenas in general, so like I said, I just shit on MSG, so arenas just aren't my thing.
Well, just to flesh this segment out before we close, like, what's on your bucket list of venues to visit, past or present?
I mean, like I said, anything in Japan, just from seeing it on television and that being far away. As far as America, man, it's tough. There's nothing that really sticks out. I mean, I never really had any desire to go to that PWG VFW just because it sounded like torture. So, and I think that's like one of the bigger ones for, I've been to ECW Arena and it's like whatever. I didn't hate it or anything, but everybody's like, oh, it's not like the old arena, but I mean, it's still the same building. And a lot of people said it's cleaner now, which is wild because it's not clean. I kind of wish Yeah, I was gonna say I was kind of wish Game Changer World was still there because that place was shady. But as far as places to go, I don't know, man. I don't think I have one. I can't think of any place I haven't been that I'm dying to go to.
What's the venue where that one guy shit himself watching Progress? That'd be a cool venue to go to, right?
Yeah, that was in Queens too. That was a little farther away from Laboom, but yeah, I didn't make it there. I'm
just kidding. I would want to go to ECW Arena for sure, just for historical purposes.
Yeah.
Arena Mexico, I think, is on my list as well. In terms of Japan, of course, the stadium, or not stadium, but the hall in Kyoto with the ornate stained glass would be one. On top of that, I think Osaka-jo Hall, where they just had Dominion with those fucking lights on the ceiling. That feels like I'd be like in a spaceship. So I'm dying to go to that venue for sure. Vrtbags, where do you want to go? Where have you been? Email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Up next, the world famous mixtape with Jack Bonza, Brian Hardy, and some Orange Crush influence. Please stay tuned.
Been trying to let it go, trying to keep my eyes closed, trying to keep it just like before. Times when I never even thought to speak. Don't wanna tell you what it is. Oh wait, it felt so serious. Got me thinking just too much. I wanna shut it out, but it's this one thing that got me tripping. It's this one thing that got me tripping. It did. This one thing your soul made me feel it. It's this one thing you did.
With Virtual Pros, episode 90. If you haven't already, hit us on Instagram and Twitter at VRTL Pros. Tell a friend. I'm unbanned now, so a lot more content is coming your way. This is the world famous mixtape segment. If you are a new listener, you can find this mixtape on YouTube. Just type in Virtual Pros mixtape. It'll pop right up. Also, Mike talked about it. If you have any suggestions, we'll gladly watch whatever you have to send us. Unless it's like one of those sketchy Russian, like, deathmatch things. I'm not gonna watch that. That's gonna get you banned. But anyway, the first match of the night is, let's go with, Jack Bonza versus Nick Armstrong, Riot City Wrestling 2015. So the only reason I picked this match was because of listener Corey writing in and letting me know that there was a profile for this guy on the New Japan website. His name was Jack Bonza, and I too had no fucking clue who Jack Bonza was. But in his profile photo, he's wearing like a Rambo headband, and his name is Jack Bonza. So like, this just had me curious. I think I put the mystery together, and the reason why he has a profile is because he tagged with Yuji Nagata in a show in Australia. So that's why I think he has his profile up there. So for those that are not familiar with Nick Armstrong and Jack Bonza, Nick Armstrong, he has a very strong resemblance to UFC fighter Sage Northcutt, whereas Jack Bonza, on the other hand, he kind of looks like a cleanup hitter for like any team that you would see in the NCAA College World Series. Like, to steal a line from the Jim Rome show, he looks like a red ass. Like, he has like a really angry face, that all baseball players have, I feel like. And, he can do that thing where he can bounce his titties because like he's really strong. So this match, it takes place in a venue down under. And I'm not even really sure what this venue is for. When it's not hosting wrestling, there like seems to be like a lot of weird tapestry hanging off the walls. So for my Australian Vrtbags out there, please let me know what's up with this venue. And if you've been here before, I'm very curious. Match wise, not a lot to add. There's some moments. Jack Bonza, he has like a really nice looking Blue Thunder bomb. This was like a perfectly acceptable second match on like NXT TV or something, but you know, Jack Bonza, I don't know. I had a lot more hopes like riding into this watching, but they didn't really meet him. What'd you think, Mike?
So yeah, Jack Bonza is just a name that somebody like tweeted this that it was actually Australian, I think, but it's definitely a name that just screams I'm Australian. It just sounds like an Australian person's name, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it.
So this opens, and Jack Bonza is with his valet, I guess, and they're doing a promo in front of a dry erase board, and it's like, dude, you couldn't find a place a little more menacing to do your promo instead of just right in front of a dry erase board that has text written on it. Like, just go do it in front of a brick wall or something. So that kind of bothered me. So he does have a good line in the promo. He says something. Oh, he's like, I like Nick Armstrong. Like, I like my coffee. And the lady says, how's that? And he's like, I hate coffee. Or he says something. I probably fucked it up, but he says something like that.
That's exactly what it was.
Okay. But then, so Nick Armstrong does his promo, which he's in a room that has posters of these wrestlers on it. So he's it looks like he's in a child's bedroom, but I know he's really in like just the back of this venue. So it's a little better than a dry erase board, but not much. And, he's like, oh, Jack Bonza hates coffee. He probably likes soy lattes. And I think that's, supposed to be checking his manhood or something like that, because soy latte sounds like kind of like a wimpy thing. But as a person who doesn't really give a shit about coffee, I think you have to like coffee a lot to have a soy latte, because then you have to know those things. I don't fucking know those things. I just know coffee. I don't know what all those other things mean. There's two things in life I'll never know. I don't know all the different coffees, and I'll never be able to know the names of cheeses. Like, those things are just never going to happen for me. And so this guy, Nick Armstrong, fuck you, because you need to know about coffee to know what a soy latte is. This wrestling has a very weird thing going on, and that is, this is live wrestling, obviously, in front of a crowd, but they have a commentary team that is doing commentary over the PA, over like the house PA. So it's not like mic'd into the actual video you're watching. It's just over the PA, so the people in the crowd are hearing it. And that has to be like astonishingly annoying to be there in real life. Like, I can't, it's like watching wrestling with basically like a auction barker in your ear the whole time saying shit that you're not really paying attention to because you're watching wrestling. And you can't really make it out from the video, so that it doesn't serve a purpose there. It just serves to annoy. And I don't know, you gotta cut that out if you're still around Riot City Wrestling, 'cause that's just a bad thing to do. Japan definitely has a penchant of finding these guys no one has ever fucking heard of, and they're just like, you're a guy now in Japan, and we're gonna use you. And that's crazy, because it brought me back, because I remember when I was in bands and stuff, it was like that with bands too, where the bands that were huge in Japan, well, not huge, but, very notable in Japan, are like bands that were just like shit in America. So it's just very weird that Japan finds this stuff and polishes a turd, you would say. Lastly, I have nothing to really comment about this actual wrestling match, so I just wanted to shout out and plug a show that's going in its second season on Netflix called Instant Hotel, which also originates from Australia. It is a reality show. I think they put the first season on Netflix like 6 months ago, and it is fucking amazing. It's these people that rent out like the Australian equivalent of an Airbnb, but they're like wild, gimmicky Airbnbs. And it's a really great, compelling reality show. So their second season is starting this Friday. So it's time for you to Bing watch all the past episodes and the new episodes. It's a really good reality show. You gotta watch it.
The only show I'm aware of is Summer Heights High, and that show should still be going on. I think it's problematic though.
Yeah, I think everything from Australia is problematic, because I think it's really okay to be racist there. So it's just like there's nothing they can do about it. it's too ingrained in them. My first match of the night is my only match, because the other thing is not a match. It's kind of a documentary, but my only match is Meiko Satomura versus Nene Takahashi from just last week, I believe. Yeah. On Fortune Dream, which is like Kenta Kobashi's, sometimes like dream promotion or whatever. And I just chose this match because I think, when all is said and done, the brass tacks and all those other cliches, I think Meiko Satomura is probably my favorite women's wrestler. And I don't get to see her that often because I don't have that scam Sendai Girls, because I think it's a scam and they just set it up to take your money. So I think they put up like 3 events and they're like, we'll put up some more later. and it's been like a year. I don't think they've ever put up any more events, so I don't get to see her wrestle that often. Probably like a few times a year. So I saw this pop up on my YouTube because I think it's on the Wavy Boy Smith channel.
Shout out to Wavy Boy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that dude does. He's this mysterious guy on the internet, but he has all the greatest matches that he uploads to his YouTube. But yeah, so I wanted to watch this, and the mixtape gives me an excuse to watch it. So Nene Takahashi, if you're not familiar, not pretending like I am either, but she's an older woman too, just like Meiko Satomura. She's been around a while, but she's in this wrestling event representing Seedling, which if you are not familiar with this sketchy corner of the internet of ladies Japanese wrestling, Seedling is spelled real weird. It's spelled like SEADDDLNNG or something like that. And for the longest time, I thought it said seed lining, and I didn't know what seed lining meant. And I was like, man, that is the absolute weirdest name for a promotion. But Seedling makes a lot more sense because it's like you're growing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to learn that it was seedling and not seed lining. Anyways, so they're doing their entrances. I'm not really paying attention. I'm on my phone or something. And, Nene, she like yells something or does something. And the pitch of her voice, I don't want to say it's shrill, but it's definitely very unique. And it's borderline shrill. She has a borderline shrill pitch in her voice. And, I thought it was one of my cats, and I got very startled because it was like a weird scream. And I was like, because sometimes my one cat, he'll like whine so hard that he sounds like a human being. So I was like, what's wrong with my cat? What's going on? It's the middle of the day. He has no reason to be making this noise. And I look up and I'm like, oh, I think that was that woman. She just made that noise. So, yeah, that was an interesting thing.
Is this egg or toast?
That's Egg. Egg is the whiner.
Shout out to Egg.
This is a cool ring canvas. It's kind of pinkish and has like a sword on it. It's pretty sweet. I was looking up Nene Takahashi's Wikipedia so I could sound smart and educated on the show. And while I was looking it up, I saw that in 2005 she wrestled somebody named Africa 55. And I cannot find any information on Africa 55 on the internet. But I'd really like to see what a wrestler named Africa 55 looks like, because a lot of different visions in my head about how this could go. And a couple of them are pretty racist. So I'd like to see, how that turns out for Africa 55, because I'm hoping it's not a Japanese woman, but who knows. That was another thing while I was thinking of that and looking up Wikipedia to sound educated. Anytime anybody approaches me on the internet with like an educated fact, I just think they read Wikipedia and they're not a real fan. I think real fans are people who say, that guy over there, or that one with the hair. That is what a real fan sounds like. So every time you try and one-up me on the internet with a fucking fact, I just think you're a nerd who reads the Wikipedia. So, anyway, this match, sorry, spoiler alert, it ends in a 20-minute draw. I assume it's 20 minutes because it's like 23 minutes in the video. So I'm like, I guess it's supposed to be a 20-minute draw. That is fucking bullshit. And I should have known, because I know when they do these group shows that there's a lot of fucky endings. But I don't know, man. A 20-minute draw is kind of bullshit. And it made me think that if they ever want to get people to like not just immediately be repulsed by a draw, you gotta let like the first couple rows of the crowd throw tomatoes at the people that just had the draw. And I think people would be like, oh man, I wouldn't mind seeing a 20-minute draw. Like, no offense, when Trevor Lee and ACH did their 60-minute draw match in AAW a few months ago, like, 40 minutes into it, I was like, oh, I know what they're doing. They're going to WWE, so they're going to do this match that they probably can never do again in their lives. So I respected it. But at the same time, I'm like, man, if I see you fucking wrestle for an hour, I either want to hit you with tomatoes or I want like a definitive winner. So I don't know. Like I said, if I had tomatoes that day, it would have been way better. But just a thought, wrestling events out there. Just think about it. It would get people out. You just put on the fucking flyer. If any match goes to a draw, you can throw tomatoes. Like, you're going to sell out all your seats. It's going to happen. Yeah, that's it. What did you think of this match, Al?
Yeah, I'm very pleased that this got added to the mixtape by you, Mike. We haven't watched Joshi together in a while, so I was very happy.
We haven't, yeah.
Yeah, Fortune Dream. I know you like the mat, but it kind of makes me feel sick because it's like the same shade as Pepto-Bismol, and I don't like it. It makes my stomach feel like queasy. But yeah, Fortune Dream, like, they're on some pretty wild shit, Joshi-wise. I think there was a Kairi Hojo versus Hiroyo Matsumoto matchup that was like really, really good. There was like a 3-way with Io Shirai, Meiko, and Hiroyo as well. Yeah, it just seems like Kenta Kobashi is a big fan of the Joshi, it seems like. But yeah, with that said, like, I'm going into this match a little reserved because, you know, Meiko Satomura is from Sendai Girls, Nanae is from Seedling. We're gonna get a draw. No one's catching an L on a produce show, and it's just not gonna happen. So I figured that was gonna happen. Sure enough, it did. So I was okay with it. I could be reading this entirely wrong, but I think Takahashi's knee pad says, "Let's get D," which is a little sus. I know, like, she wrestles for Seedling, but let's get D. Might want to rethink that one, Nanae. I think my final note about this match, though, was I just wrote, "I don't know." Let's see here. Oh, I know why. You know, it just might be me, but between watching this match and that a 6-man tag that DDT and Sendai had, Meiko Satomura, it pains me to say, she's not as crisp as she usually is. And, you know, I can understand why. She's only been going so fucking hard for like over a decade. I think she's 39. And, you know, like, I thought this match was all right. Like, it's not all of her fault, but I expected a little more. If anything, I thought this was kind of a dud. Aside from like the pretty predictable finish, I don't know. I just think I expected more from these two. But I think they are in their early 30s. You know what? I'm going to give this a pass. I take back saying it was a dud. I'm going to give this a pass.
Yeah, she's 39 or 40, and so is Takahashi, so...
Yeah, I respect it.
They're old maids. You gotta take them out back and shoot them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that. But yeah, they are fucking, it is pretty crazy that they're still wrestling at 40 and they're still doing that hard ass wrestling too, where they should just be broken in half at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're fucking each other up, but I just have seen Meiko Satomura, like, when they did the Sendai invasion of Stardom, like, she was like, she might have like had the argument of like best wrestler. And in 2019, not so much. The last match that I had picked of the night is Kenta Kobashi and Go Shiozaki versus Kensuke Sasaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima, Noah, 5/11/2005. So like I said, we'll watch any recommendation you send over. Shout out to Jacob. There seems to be a very Kenta Kobashi vibe to this mixtape. So, shout out to you guys. So this is a tag match. And I do find the entrances to be very interesting, as it appears that the people are coming out in order of importance. Nakajima comes out first alone, even though he's one half of like the defending tag team champions. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he's going to eat this fucking pin. I do find it cute that him and father Kensuke are matching tights-wise. And I kind of wish that Akira Hokuto came out to the ring with them with like orange slices or something to complete this entire family setup.
That's not really his son, is it?
They're not. Okay, so Nakajima is not their son, but from what I had read on the internet, because the internet is like 100% fact, is that it just sounds like they kidnapped him or some shit. And like he's been living like with them for like years. Look into it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I agree. And they just like crafted this guy Nakajima to be like this wrestling machine.
Huh.
But yeah, I do love the symmetry of these teams where like each team has like one overpowered old ass man and like a young dude. There's a moment in this match where Nakajima, he starts to fire up on Kobashi and then Kobashi grabs him by the ears, which like has to be like one of the most humiliating pro wrestling moments endured by a wrestler. Go Shiozaki's dropkick, man. It's pretty great. Maybe up there with Okada. I will say that Nakajima with like the koosh ball hair, he looks like Tetsuo from Akira. Do you agree, Mike? He kind of looks like face-wise? A little bit.
He kind of does, yeah.
But yeah, later on in the match, Kobashi and Sasaki, they have this chop battle for at least like 3 minutes. And after it's done, I'm like, wow, the skin on both of these dudes on their chest, like it really held up nicely. But then it cuts to Sasaki's chest like 2 minutes later, and it looks like he got branded by like a fraternity, and it looks fucking disgusting. I hated this. But yeah, like whenever I watch a really good match on the mixtape, I just find it so tough to talk about and like, you know, kind of expand on what I liked about it. But I think one of the coolest moments in this match is where the young bucks, like, you know, they get their shit in on the old dads. And like that seems to garner like some of the biggest reactions in this match. My last note was, I guess this happened before 2005's Tokyo Sports Matchup of the Year between Sasaki and Kobashi. So maybe I'll add that to the mixtape if I can find it. I thought this match was really fun. Will I run this match back to watch for like leisure? I don't think so, but I don't think I wasted my time here. What'd you think?
So I watched it. The first thing I wrote down is that I think more wrestlers need to hit each other for real. I don't think that people need to do that shoot style bullshit because I think it's dumb, but I do think they need to hit each other for real. And hear me out. Hear me out, a man who has never wrestled in his life and just talks about wrestling on the internet. I have some advice. I think you should hit each other for real for like the first 2 minutes of the match. And people are gonna instantly be into this because it takes me a little while to get going on these like mid 2000s tag team matches because I do not give a shit. There's no context of this match in my life. But when you start out just hitting each other for real, I'm all in. I'm immediately entranced. So if you do that in real life, man, it's gonna get people in your match immediately. Again, I wrote down about Sasaki's bruises. It's So are you talking about the one that was like near his collarbone?
Yeah, it just looks like there were like 3 hot dogs glued onto his chest.
Yeah, dude, it's gross. It looks like surgical scars, like somebody put like a bad implant inside of him or something. Yeah. It's real nasty looking. With that said, though, you should hit each other for real. But they're like in minute 13 of this match, and they're still like hitting each other for real. And I think that's a little much. I think you should cut out about 5 minutes of that hitting each other for real, because it does get boring. I think you only need about 5 minutes on top of hitting each other for real. But then they go into the very dangerous suplexes, and I'm back in. Nakajima does this suplex where it's a belly to back bridging suplex, but he bridges so far down on the ground, basically his heels are touching like the backs of his knees while holding this giant man, or this larger sized man. And I don't know how the fuck he does that, man. That is some flexibility and looks real gross. But yeah, so I think Mike's keys to a perfect match. You want to have a perfect match out there. You're an indie guy. Start off the match by hitting each other for real for 2 to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be super hard, but it has to be for real. And then go into about 5 minutes of dangerous suplexes. And I think overnight you will be a sensation. Just take my word for it. Just, I don't know why everybody doesn't do this. It seems like in wrestling, especially independent wrestling, like one guy does one thing and 9 other people copy it. Why isn't anybody copying this? Because it's brilliant and it's simple. So, yeah, great match. I do think it could have been trimmed down, but otherwise great match. My last thing of the night is a man named Brian Hardy, and he did a docu-series. This is what the YouTube title is: Brian Hardy docu-series. And then in quotations it says "Wrestling with Rocking All Night," episode 1. I for the life of me cannot remember who sent me this. Sorry for not remembering who sent me this. And I can't even remember the context of why they sent me this. I can't remember if it was something where they're like, oh, Mike would like this, or there was like a story behind it, or what. But I just put this on my watch later because I knew it was like some bozo doing something, and I was like, this is something I'm gonna like. So I put it on my watch later and just never watched it until now. I think this is only from early May this was uploaded. So I think it's only been a month, and it's just like completely out of my head. Just hit me up, whoever recommended me this, and I'll give you credit next episode if I remember something, because I think this is a colossal, amazing video that is a must watch, that everybody should watch this video. So yeah, this Brian Hardy is supposedly a wrestler, and this video starts out with him in the bathroom, topless and in like tiny punk panties basically, and he's like a wrestler, and he's talking about being a wrestler, and how he's going to go through his day of first he has to put on the tanner and yada 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 and stuff like that. And this is an audio podcast, so, and you're probably not synced up with this video right now, but Brian Hardy does not look like what anybody's idea of a wrestler would be. He just looks like a dude in underwear. He's just like kind of fat. He just looks like a normal dude. He has shitty tattoos. Nothing screams wrestler about this man. So you're watching this and you're just like, is this real? Is this guy doing like a fucking, like a bit, like an Andy Kaufman thing? Or is like, what is this like a mockumentary? It took me until they showed actual footage of wrestling into this video for me to believe this was real. And then it took me a couple minutes after that to be like, I don't know, you could still rent something out with your friends and set this up. But after a while, I started to believe like, no, this is honest to God real. This dude is for real about this documentary. And then the second wave of sadness is, early on when he's putting on the tanner, and I realize that somebody else is holding the camera. And as a person who's basically a pro in watching these kind of videos of weirdos on YouTube, that is always a sad moment when you realize somebody else is filming this and somebody else could feel this awkwardness in real life. I don't know if it's his wife or a friend or anything, but I cannot imagine the cameraman to this documentary. So I'll get into it. He's doing a narrative the whole time, like a voiceover, and he's saying like the most cliched wrestler things that he's heard on a million other documentaries. Like, I've wrestled everybody that was coming up and everybody going down. And like, I'm going to punch in my bump card. And he's just saying every single thing that you've heard in every single wrestling documentary. And you're like, this guy cannot be for fucking real. But like I said, after 15 minutes, I'm convinced this is real and it's not some kind of joke. Yeah, he has like a real weird skull tattoo. I thought it was a Bullet Club tattoo. It's something else. I couldn't make out what the top says. I know the bottom says "Be Sweet," but the top says something weird. There's so basically I think he said he's in Maryland or something like that, and he drives up to Pennsylvania for something called Superstars Wrestling, I think it is. And it is, trust me, it's no one you've ever fucking heard of. It's just a bunch of guys that, look like any fucking dad in your life is inside this wrestling promotion. And they talk to him all about Brian Hardy, like, oh yeah, he's a fucking great guy, blah, blah, blah. They talk to a man named Inferno, and he's wearing a shirt that just says Inferno in like a real bad clip art font. And he's just like, he has dyed like orange hair because his name is Inferno. But he's like, you can tell he's way too old to be dyeing his hair, like weird colors. And you can tell he made his shirt like on his computer and stuff like that. And he's supposedly also the owner of Superstars Wrestling or whatever it's called. And it's just, you're in for a good time once this guy pops up, because they talk to many other guys with famous names you've heard, like Jason Zimmerman. They talk to Jason Zimmerman, famous wrestler Jason Zimmerman. And there's just like people, like they'll show people and it's just like, Tom Johnson, and it's just some fucking 42-year-old man in a leotard. And you're just like, dude, what the fuck is this? So it's in some part of rural Pennsylvania. So if you guys are familiar, if you're in rural Pennsylvania, you're familiar with the Superstars Wrestling, maybe you're fans of these guys. They show clips and highlights of, his past victories. And the only thing they really prominently show is him beating Eric Young, who is kind of a bozo in WWE now. But, this is like this man's big highlight. And this video is probably 10 years old at this point. And this is like his one claim to fame is beating Eric Young. And so that's another depressing thing. They talked to a guy named Jason Valentine, who's just wearing like a clip-on bow tie around his neck and just like a regular t-shirt. And he just looks like a fatter Brian Hardy. He looks exactly like Brian Hardy, except fatter. That's weird. He's talking about the fans. He's doing a voiceover about the fans. And it shows him signing some Goobers t-shirt, like the back of his t-shirt. And then like the guy turns around and it's just like a random t-shirt. It's not even like a Brian Hardy t-shirt. It's just like some freebie shirt he got from like I don't even know. It just says like Midway Sports or something on it. It's just like some vague term on it. And it's like, oh my God, dude, there is no, like this dude, like Brian Hardy probably was like, hey, you want a signature? You want a signature? You want a signature? There's no way this dude was like, can you sign my Midway Sports shirt? For no fucking reason, because I don't know who the fuck you are. Because they show the footage from this event. It's probably a little more people than I would think, but by that I mean like 80. Like there's maybe 80 people there. that's more I would expect to see people like Jason Zimmerman. So, 80 seems like a lot. Sometimes, then the fourth or fifth wave of sadness is, sometimes I think we are the Brian Hardys of wrestling, because I know people have this idea in, like, our haters, you would say, our haters that are drinking the haterade out there. They have this idea in our head that we're, like, really braggadocious and assholes, basically, and hipsters and all these other, like, negative terms you want to call people. But not only am I an actual humble person in real life, but I really am, like, I wouldn't say it's like a hippie kind of ideal, but I really do believe we are all just tiny specks of dust on this planet, and none of us has the amount of importance that we think we do. And so it's good for me because it keeps me kind of level, and if I meet, like, a famous person, I don't give a shit because I'm just like, they're just a fucking person. And so sometimes I think we're like the Brian Hardys, because I'm like, I think we're fairly popular. I go to a wrestling show and people know Virtual Pros anywhere I really go. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe people know Brian Hardy everywhere you go. I don't know. Wrestling's like a small pond. Who knows? So I got real sad thinking about that. Not as sad as right after that. So they show Brian Hardy has his match. Whatever. I don't, it's all bad, terrible shit. And they show him leaving with his giant family of at least 4 children and his wife, which is kind of a lot, to just be, like, bringing to your wrestling event, like, hundreds of miles away, but whatever. And whoever the cameraman is, I'm just going to assume that's another child of his. So he has five kids. He's tagging along to fucking wrestling and bumfuck. But anyways, so they're in the parking lot and they're going to their car or whatever. And, you see him, he has, like, his roller bag, and he has a duffel bag on top of it, and it's a WWE branded duffel bag. And there is no fucking way on earth he did not purposely buy that bag. So when he tells people he's a wrestler, they would see the bag and be like, oh, he's with WWE. And that made me real sad again. I was like, that is a sad, sad existence that you want to trick people into thinking you're in WWE, or like you tried out or something like that. And, that was very sad. So then he gets in the car. He's in the passenger seat. His wife is driving, and he has his payoff envelope. And I rewound this several times, and I counted at least $150. And there is no way that is true. He pulled all the money in that car, and he put it in the envelope, and he was like, "Roll that tape." There is no way Brian Hardy is getting $150 from fucking bullshit wrestling in bumfuck Pennsylvania. Fuck off, Brian Hardy. That is bullshit. You know what you did, you motherfucker. And then he's like, he's trying to, like, make it seem, like, real dramatic with his wife. He's like, all the times you said that I shouldn't be doing this is what it's worth. This is what it's for supporting my family. And it's like, dude, you work at fucking Jiffy Lube in real life. Don't even try and say you're supporting your family off of this bullshit wrestling. I think to sum it up, the best way I would describe it is it's maybe $1 over $5 wrestling. It's kind of like the $6 wrestling documentary. I fucking love this, Marty. If you're listening to this episode, definitely check out this video. I think you'll enjoy it. I think all that $5 wrestling crew would enjoy this fucking video. I don't know if anybody out there has, like, actual experience with Brian Hardy, but this is hands down one of the greatest things I've ever watched. Whoever recommended this to me, thank you so much. This made my day, even though it was very depressing to watch. This is a great, great video. But what did you think, Al?
Before I forget, I think the reason why he had a WWE bag was, so there was a clip in this video where they're showing his gimmick table. Mm-hmm. And then for whatever reason, there was like an 8x10 of AJ Styles. And I was like, what? So I paused it. And I think he actually was on, like, a SmackDown episode or something, because there was a photo of him and AJ Styles. So
oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Damn.
So that's what I figured. He might have just got, like, a bag as, like, a thank you for getting beat up by AJ Styles.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That's kind of sad still.
So my first question would be, let me rephrase this. My first question, if I were to talk to Brian Hardy, is why do you have an electric fan in your bathroom? It seems like really weird. Are you in there that long? And if so,
my
why?
girlfriend does that too. It's not a human sized fan though. It's like a really tiny fan. I don't get it either. But she always has it on though. Not to put her on blast. Not that she's gonna listen to this, but yeah, I don't
edit this out, Mike. No problem, dude. You know what? I'll take that out, dude. I think there's a nice, gap where I can take it out. Don't even trip.
I don't understand the fan in the bathroom thing either. I don't get it.
So 6 minutes in, I'm watching this video. I'm kind of wondering why you picked this. But I also realized that Brian Hardy, he doesn't know how to add video clips of his wrestling matches into this documentary that he's making. So he's just recording his TV with his camera, which is a very dad move.
I didn't even notice that's what was going on.
Yeah, I was like, why is the frame shaking? And I see the TV bezel, and I was like, oh, that's why. That's cool. I like that. So later on in the video, it cuts to this match, and I think it's for autism. I think that's what they say, and I'm like, okay, that's noble. Where to my astonishment, he's wrestling Artie Lang of Mad TV and Howard Stern fame, which is a pretty sweet look.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Artie Lang, have you seen his nose lately, Mike?
Yeah, he's pretty fucked, man. He's pretty fucked.
Goodness. Speaking of cameos, WWE's own Eric Young and ECW alumni Little Guido, a guest star in this video as well.
Yeah.
So there's some pretty decent star power here. Overall, I guess this video was okay. I can respect a working man trying to make ends meet for his family. I browsed his YouTube channel, and it just seems like there's this episode and clips of him playing guitar. So in terms of expecting an episode 2, I'm going to put those odds at fairly low. Not to bump you up, Mike, but I don't know.
I still have high hopes. Like I said, this was early May. He's a working man. He's supporting his family with his wrestling money. I'll give him a 2 to 3 month window. If by late July there's no Brian Hardy episode 2, I'll start to get sad. But I'm gonna give him some time to put it out. It made me think though. Remember that weird traveling food WWE show? I think that was only 1 episode and it went away.
Was that with Nakamura and that one referee guy or the announcer?
Yeah.
Man, bring that shit back. I missed that. Oh, my other question was they were or at least Brian Hardy was talking about how he comes from a family of wrestlers. Who's his dad? Do you know? I don't think it's Jeff or Matt.
So the first thing I thought was, oh man, he's trying to pretend to be Matt Hardy's son, and I was like, that's real sad. But I remember there was a jobber when I was a kid named Barry Hardy. I didn't look into it, but I'm just gonna assume he's maybe Barry Hardy's son in real life. But I really don't want to find out that he's pretending to be Matt Hardy's son though. So that's why I didn't look it up.
That was episode 90 of That World Champion Sounds. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit us on iTunes. Oh, I forgot. We're on Spotify too. If you want to participate with the Brian Hardys of podcasting, hit us at VirtualPros64@gmail.com. We're 9 away from 100, Mike. How does that make you feel?
Dude, I always say it, but I don't even understand how we're not at 100. It doesn't make mathematical sense. There are podcasts that started a year ago that are already at 150 that have lapped us. So it sounds like it's quick, but it's still 20 weeks. So we might die before we hit 100. It might happen.
Fuck, I hope so, dude. But like they say, quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
See you guys in 2 weeks.